Welcome to the FMC Lounge, everyone. I am your host, Joe for Show, and in this video, I'll be going over the new Ultimate Descendant, Sharen, that came out for Season 2 of the first Descendant. In this video, I will be going over all multiple builds that I use for farming dungeons or Void Vessel and Colossus bosses like Gluttony and other activities. If you like this kind of content and want to see more in the future, hit that sub button, drop a like, and leave a comment down below to help with the YouTube algorithm. I would appreciate it a lot. Now, enough of the yapping, let's jump straight into the video. Before we jump into the first build, I just want to remind everybody that all these builds are going to be exclusive to Ultimate Sharen only. None of them will work on a regular Sharen. Now the first build, it's going to revolve around Area Suppression, one of her new Transcendent mod that came out for Season 2. And what this does is it's going to change her fourth ability. It's still going to stay Electric and Fusion, but the way it activates, it's different. Instead of you being locked in, stationary, you had to lock on your enemies, you're able to move around, as you see in the video, and do a little spin attack. And you don't have to stay stationary where you take a lot of damage, so you have great mobility with this one. Now for the set of mods, I am using 2 HP mods. You can use one, you can change the other one to something else, which I'll explain in a little bit. The other mods we're using is Focus on Fusion and Dangerous Ambush. The main reason why is when you go invis with your second ability, Dangerous Ambush is gonna proc, which is gonna give us even more damage. We're also running Electric Specialist. I am running the blue one instead of the Focus on Electric because we don't need that much cooldown. As you've seen earlier, our cooldown's already at 4 seconds, and it will go lower as well, which I'll show you in a little bit. We are running Emergency Measure, Frontline, and Skill Concentration. We are not running Skill Insight, which is the skill critical hit rate, and I will explain later the reason why. We are also running 2 cooldown mods. Now instead of running 2 HP mods, if you want to be a little bit more glass cannon, you can run Electric Cynthium to give your a little more electric skill power boost, or Spear and Shield to give you a little bit more skill power. It's up to you, figure out what fits your playstyle best. The reason I'm not running Skill Insight mod for more skill critical hit rate is because our second ability, when we go invis, after we come out of it, we're going to get Ambush, and Ambush is going to give us 100% more damage, skill critical hit rate, and firearm critical hit rate. And as you can see, we're going to get a 22% increase rate, right? If you look at our base, we're already at 20, which is going to put us to 42. And we will be using Blue Beetle, which I'll talk about later, which is going to give us another 22%, which will give us to 64. And then the mods and everything, that's going to give us about 90%, which will have us basically almost capped. They're going to crit almost every single time. Now I'll show you a little demonstration right now. Now the first thing you want to do is activate your first ability, which will activate the Blue Beetle. Then you're going to go invis, and then you're going to spam your fourth ability. And as you see, it's always be critical hit. Now you are seeing some white numbers, but that's the damage over time. That has nothing to do with your skill critical hit rate. The big numbers that you're seeing, that's your, how you're gonna always crit. Now when it comes to my reactor, you gotta make sure it's Electric Fusion and 2 bottom stats. The main one you want skill cooldown, the skill critical hit damage. You want the cooldown, it's gonna let us spam. You want crit hit damage because we're going to do more damage from them. Now if you notice, my reactor is only in level 2. I do not have it at level 5, and the main reason why, not everybody could get the material to make it to level 5. So I want to showcase and show y'all that you don't need a level 5 reactor. Just having level 2 will work fine. Just remember, when you do get this reactor to level 5, your build is going to be much stronger than what you're seeing in this video. When it comes to the components, I am still using the 2-piece hunter set. I really like it just because the skill cooldown is going to allow us to spam even more. You can get this from doing Void Vessels. But we're also running 2 Annihilation set. And the main reason why is because we're going to get defense HP here, defense HP here, defense here, and HP here. That's going to give us 3 different defensive stats and 3 different HP stats, which is going to allow me to be more tanky because I don't like to play as a glass cannon. You can also run the 4-piece Slayer set if you want a little bit more damage. Just remember that your skill cooldown is going to go up. This was at 4.4, it's at like 4.9, so it's not really a difference, but you are going to be more glass cannon, but you will do a lot of damage. But if that's your playstyle, go ahead and use the 4-piece Slayer set. When it comes to the weapons, we're using Blue Beetle. The main reason why is because of its unique ability, which when we activate fusion skill, we're going to get arcane energy. It triggers 100% and lasts for 10 seconds, but it's going to give us 115 skill critical hit rate. This allows us to have basically max skill critical hit rate, in which I showed you earlier how we were consistently hitting the orange numbers. Now unfortunately, you do have to get it to level 4 out of 4 for the unique. If not, if it's like 1 or 2, I'm pretty sure these numbers will be a little bit lower. But remember, there is an event going around online that you can get these materials or the blueprint for the Blue Beetle for free without having to farm it. So make sure y'all doing that as well. In the description down low, I'll have a link to this online event so you could go ahead and claim all that free loot so you could craft the Blue Beetle for free. For your other weapons, it's preference, whatever you like to use. I like to use the smithereen because the ambush damage 100%, which is going to make the smithereen hit really hard. This is a great weapon for burst DPS. Now for our second build, it's going to revolve around ambush, which is the new Transcendent mod for Ultimate Sharen that came out in season 2 as well. And this does a lot of things. The first thing, for your second ability, it's going to give you increased movement speed and skill cooldown. For your third ability, it completely changes it. It used to be electric in dimension, now it's electric infusion, and instead of stunning enemies, it damages them and the insane amount, which I'll show in a little bit. And then for your passive, basically whenever you kill an enemy or land a critical hit rate when you are in active camouflage, there's a 30% chance to re-enter active camouflage. Now I don't know if it's really 30%, it feels like 100% based on the gameplay that you see earlier in the video, and which I will show as well. Now when it comes to the mods, we're basically running almost all the same. The only thing that changed, I'm using Spear and Shield instead of another HP mod. I'm using Focus on Electric instead of the blue electric specialist. And the main reason why we're using Focus on Electric instead is because we're not using nimble fingers here. We're using skill expansion for more range, and since we're using range, we took off some skill power, some skill cooldown. We're gonna make up for it with this just a little bit. Not the same amount as nimble fingers, but it's better than nothing. And the main reason why we're using range is so our third ability to have a bigger impact radius, so we can get more enemies. But without it, you barely could kill a group of enemies that's in front of you. Now to show you a little demonstration of how consistently you go back invis after you use your second ability and you do damage, and how much damage the third ability could do. First, we're gonna use our first ability, go invis, then we're gonna use our third ability, and as you can see, we just hit 6.9, and our damage over time is doing 1.3 mil. You could also use your first ability, go invis, and use your first again, and we just hit 9 mil, which is insane. You had two different damage techniques you could use for this build. Now when it comes to the reactor, we're using the same thing as the area suppression build and the same 4-piece components as well. Nothing really changed. And remember, I'm using level 2 just to show y'all don't need a level 5 to do that much damage. And then for the weapons, it's the same thing. We are using Blue Beetle so we can have the high critical crit hit rate. The other weapons, it's all up to you. Now for anyone who's curious on how much damage you could do with a 4-piece Slayer set instead, well, let's show y'all. So let's go activate our first ability, then our second, and then our third, and we just hit 8 mil. And we're still invis. We're not invis no more. Well, we just hit 10 mil. Go first, go invis, 10 mil. Now for anyone who's wondering, I did test out the release cutting force. It does pretty good damage. Let me show y'all real quick. What I think is really good about it is when you have these enemies lined up, it's going to go through a lot of them, as you can see, especially if you add more range. The problem that I have using this Transcendent mod over the others is that your main damage is your first ability. You could use your fourth, but you are going to be stationary, so you will take a lot of damage, especially in 400% dungeons. While if you're using area suppression, you have your fourth ability and your first ability for damage. And if you're using ambush, you have your first ability and your third ability for damage. While release cutting force, it's just mainly your first. I don't really like it, but just to show y'all, what y'all can do. Here's the build. Just make sure you take off either HP or dangerous ambush and put a range mod on, and it will basically allow you from here, you know, or even farther, your cutting blade is going to reach all the way, and you'll be able to get more enemies in your 400% dungeons when they're all running at you. Now the next build I'm gonna show you is for bossing, and it is a skill build. It's basically gonna be the same as the first build that I showed y'all. The only thing that changes, instead of running 2 HP mods, we're going to be running only 1, and we're going to be using maximize conservation instead. Now for our components, we are running the 4-piece Slayer set just to have a little bit more damage. We're using any weapon of your choice except for Blue Beetle, that's mandatory. Smithereen will help with burst DPS. Enduring, just the best gun in the game. Use whatever you want, but make this sure this one is always going to be equipped. For our reactor, we are using skill cooldown and additional skill attack when attacking Colossus. Those 2 stats at the bottom is a must. Make sure you get those 2, and it is level 2, like I said earlier, showing y'all that you don't need a level 5. Just remember, when you have it level 5, you're going to be much stronger than what you're seeing in this video. Now our next build is going to be another boss build, but this one's more about your guns instead of your skill, and it's going to revolve around ambush. Now if you copy either one of the mobbing builds for area suppression or ambush, you do not need to put any catalyst into this build at all. It will perfectly, the mod you're going to use will work perfectly with what you already catalyzed before. Now the first mod is additional recharge, walk a tightrope, shot focus, nimble fingers, and MP conversion. Now before I explain how this build works, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Real Agent Robot on YouTube. His video that he put out a couple months ago about conditional recharge in Haley is the one who put me on this mod and showed me how this mod could be beneficial in certain activities, certain situations. So I just want to give a quick shout out to him. All the credits go to him. He's the one who showed me this mod. I just want to put that out there. Now let me give you a demonstration of how this build works. Now this way this build works is you want to make sure your HP is lower than half. Every time you use your ability, you're going to lose HP because of conditional recharge. So we're under half. And then we're going to go invis and activate ambush. And remember, Smithereen, when you hit all your shots, you're going to crit every single time. And if you notice on the side of my screen above all my buffs, you're constantly seeing ambush reproc. That means that it's working. I'm always going invis. As you see right now, it's not. Go invis. There it goes. I'm constantly going invis, and this is how the build works. Now there is a little trick to help you save some ammo for your smithereens, and the way it works is you need to find any weapon that's general ammo type, and you're going to want to equip these 2 mods: Firing Fiesta, better weapon weight. What Firing Fiesta does is when you reload, you're not going to consume ammo for 3 seconds, and better weapon weight is going to help you swap weapons faster. Now let me give you a little demonstration in action. So when you see the boss, he's getting ready to land and his immune phase is out the way so you can damage, to start at the fight. Make sure, you shoot your gun beforehand. Right when the boss is going to be ready to be able to be damaged, you're going to go invis, reload your gun, and then swap. If you look at the ammo, I didn't lose none. This is how you could save some ammo for your boss fights. Now when it comes to your reactor, what element archetype for the skill power boost ratio, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter because this is not a skill build, this is a gun build. What matters is the 2 stats at the bottom. You want duration and cooldown. You want the duration to stay invis longer and the cooldown so you can spam your ability. And if you're wondering why you need to spam your abilities, you want your health to get to HP get lower than half before you get to the boss. So you want a very low cooldown, as you can see. Now for my components, I am running 2-piece Annihilation and 2-piece Hunter. Main reason why, skill cooldown and skill duration. Now for my weapons, like I showed earlier, any general ammo type weapon, and then either Executor or Smithereen. It's really up to you. I like Smithereen, but Executor works just as good. Now for our last final build, it's going to be another boss build, which is going to be based around gun build, but this one's more for team play. If you're doing pubs or future other content for other Colossus that comes out in the future, this build should help. And it's mainly a shield build. You're going to be running overwhelming shield with increased shield and 2 HP. and 1 defense and your shot focus, and that's gonna help you be a little bit tanky with 27,000 defense and 15,000 shields. And we are also running biosync shield, which when we pick up health orb, instead of getting health, we're going to get a shield. This is going to allow us to get our shield back. The reactors are relevant, and then your components, it's whatever that can give you much HP as possible. As you see, I'm running 2 HP, 1 HP, 2 defense, and another HP, but you're gonna, you know, give me as much shield as possible, because the way overwhelming shield works is the more HP you had, the more shields you're gonna get. So that's why we're stacking as much HP as possible with our components and a little bit of defense. You can replace this for an HP and a defense one. You'll get about, like, you know, 16. I'll show you real quick, as you can see, but I like to have a little bit more defense. If this is your playstyle, go ahead. Now I will show y'all a little demonstration of me using this build in action in pubs. Now in this video that you're watching, this is me using the team build, trying to show y'all how it works. Unfortunately, I had horrible luck. We didn't get a 4th, and the Valby is AFK from the start, but I still want to show you this gameplay of me doing some damage with the smithereen, with the ambush combo, and seeing how, you know, I could tank some damage from getting hit by gluttony stuff. Unfortunately, we didn't end up getting this boss fight done, because soon the Valby goes down again, and then the Ajax just leaves me, so I had no choice but to leave. Well, that's going to be it for the video. I don't have no gameplay at the end like I usually do. Hope everyone had a great time for Christmas with their family and friends. I'll catch y'all in the next video.